This is the One Piece Podcast, episode 360 for the week of Monday, March 16th, 2015. My name is Zach.
And my name is Ed.
And my name is Steve.
And we only have one special guest, at least for now, with us today, and that is the Dude. Hey, Dude.
Hey, Zach.
How's it going with you?
It's going pretty good. Yeah.
Okay, good. We have two very special guests who will be joining us a little bit later in the podcast. We have the two ADR directors for One Piece, Mike McFarland and Joel McDonald. I'm very excited for this. I think you guys are as well. Are you also ready for this?
I'm excited and ready.
Yeah, there we go.
I'm excited but pensive.
And that's noble.
So, before we get started, a few things to go through. The podcast awards are still going on, and you should be voting every single day. If you want to, help us, help One Piece, help anime, get a little more mainstream attention, it's a great way to do it. So go to podcastawards.com, vote for the One Piece podcast in the entertainment category, and we really, really appreciate it. Let us know if you vote, when you vote. We like hearing about it.
We don't have to know when you vote.
If you vote.
Let us know you voted.
Yeah.
I voted. It was 3:34 a.m. Pacific time.
Now, remember the weird thing about these awards is you have to vote every 24 hours, every day, and they're trying to show how energetic the fan base of the particular podcast is. And I have to say, I think we're pretty energetic, so I'm pretty
Our fan base
optimistic.
is Machi.
That's true. Our fan base is Machi. A couple other things before we get started. Anime Boston, April 3rd through 5th. Steve will be there, and I will be there. And there will be a panel. We don't know when that is yet. Check out the Anime Boston website, our Twitter. If you're curious as to when it is, we will let you know as soon as we know. I also want to... Thank you, Steve. I or whoever did that.
Did this?
Yeah, exactly. I also want to thank everyone out there who picked up T-shirts and sent us photos of them. That was really cool to see everyone sporting their One Piece podcast pride on their front, not on their back, but you get it.
Both, really.
Yeah, that's true. It's both. So thank you for doing that. We should be coming out with a new shirt in the next week or two or three. I mean, somewhat soon. I think we know what we're doing next there. The volume...
Oh, we do, huh?
I think so. Anyway, the Volume 77 cover is out. We'll probably talk a little bit more about that in depth during our recap of Volume 77 in mid-April, probably, because the actual volume comes out in early April. So look forward to that. What quick thoughts do you guys want to... Like, good, bad, eh?
I like the concepts. I like the concepts. Execution I'm not the biggest fan of, but I'm all for an entire villains cover. It's been quite a while since it was just villains.
Almost 10 years, I think?
Well, Fishman Island, we had most of the villains on there, but we still had Luffy and Fukaboshi on there, so I think this is the first one since Volume, actually have it out, 42 with CP9.
I think that was around a decade ago, right?
I will look at it right now.
Well, it'll say the English release in there.
Oh my god.
First released in this country in 2010.
Yeah, well, that's because it was during the speed up.
A decade ago.
I think it was a decade ago.
Here's what I think is interesting about the cover. The villains are sort of like the bottom of the villains are sort of cut off like, a little bit not that close to the bottom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Almost,
Frankly, I could have done without them entirely.
Well, no. What I mean is like that might be to leave room for the English volumes because the English volumes tend to take up a good chunk of the bottom and the lower right.
Oh. I also thought it might have just been because they have the little flap there and they didn't want to put it in where the flap was, although they've done that before, so I don't know.
Oh, yeah. They did that a lot.
But it is true. It'll work out great in the English volume. It'll be perfect. One other thing before we get into the episode. There are two editorials that we recently put out, both about Doflamingo. One comes from Chow, talks about the etymology of Doflamingo's name. It's a very interesting article. I suggest everyone check that out. A lot of literary and etymological explanations for why he's Don Quixote Doflamingo. Sam also put out a really cool column asking, or at least stating, why he wants Doflamingo to cry at the end of this arc. I mean, besides the obvious reasons. So check that out. That's on the latest Sam's piece, which he entitled "That Poor Flamingo Bastard." So check both of those out. Chow also has another article coming out this week, and it's about Dressrosa and its similarities to Spain and Spanish influences and all of that. That's going to be very interesting as well. With that all out of the way, are you guys ready for the interview with Mike McFarland and Joel McDonald?
Oh, yeah.
You bet.
That's right.
And that's Noble.
Hey everyone, we have two very special guests with us. They're both ADR directors here. First we have Mike McFarland. Hey Mike.
Hey.
How's everything been going?
It's been going great. How's it going for you guys?
It's been going pretty well, right? I think so, yeah.
Rating smash, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess by great I also mean like ridiculously busy, but great.
Oh dear God.
I could imagine.
So busy.
You also may hear our other guest, who is also an ADR director for One Piece. We have Joel McDonald. Hey, Joel.
Hey.
How's it going with you?
Not too bad. Also busy, but not too bad.
I could imagine. I don't know how often you guys get to talk together about directing. So, I mean, first, Mike, we haven't actually had you on in like a year and a half, I think. So
it's been a while, yeah.
I know you've also been busy with just about every project at Funimation, so if you want to talk a little bit...
Not about every project, but it certainly feels that way sometimes.
Do you want to let everyone know what you've been working on over the last year or so, and your involvement with One Piece?
Sure. Let's see. I think my involvement with One Piece, the last little bit of stuff that I was able to be the ADR director for, was I think in like the 350s, 360s, somewhere in there. Since that point in time, I have been kind of helping out in a like checking over content sort of capacity, helping Joel out with things that only 7 years worth of research could help out with. And you know, going from there and trying to help out in any capacity that I can without getting in the way. The other things I've been doing are the Attack on Titan dub, the dub for HAL, and the dub for non-disclosure agreement title and non-disclosure agreement title. And then I think the one that people do know about now that I'm working on, well, I did the dub for the Hyperdimension Neptunia animation, and we were able to get back a lot of the game cast, which was awesome. And the current one is Tokyo Ghoul.
Oh yeah, it's a dub. That's one of the simulcast dub premieres, right?
It is indeed, and I am reminded weekly when I have to.
Joel, what have you been working on?
Most recently, I'm also working on one of the broadcast dubs. I've been working on Assassination Classroom, or Ass Class, as we have all been calling it.
Fun one, yeah.
It's okay to swear, because I'm going to say ass a lot.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, cool.
Swear as much as
heavens. Such foul language.
Yeah, it's been mostly Ass Class for the past few weeks, and then before that was... Oh, yeah, other stuff I can't talk about. Yeah, so, yeah, I've it's been One Piece and something else at all times for a long time. So yeah,
you guys should come up with better names than just non-disclosure agreement. I feel like.
I mean, if you put it in like scrolling credit titles like Star Wars or something, non-disclosure agreement, awesome.
Yeah,
I would watch that, but again, I'm a legal person anyway.
Yellow line font with space behind it.
Yes.
I've seen that one. It's okay.
So Steve or Dude, do you want to start out with a question?
Well, we just brought up broadcast dubs. I'm curious about what the process has been doing those shows. Just somebody take me through it.
Well, I think it might vary a little bit from director to director, but you know, in the end, I guess, and the broad strokes, we do similar things. We have the current broadcasts in Japan that Funimation does a simulcast of, that are up on their site, etc., etc. and we find out not too long after that whether or not that show is going to get some sort of simulcast dub, which will be up on our subscriber only website. The viewing portion is subscriber only anyway. From that point on, we can only stay a few episodes ahead content-wise of what's currently available. We are able to kick out a cast, sometimes have full-on auditions, sometimes have like half auditions, sometimes have like main part auditions, and concentrate on just one episode per week. I think I've seen a little talk here and there online of like, well, if they're 4 or 5 weeks behind, they're still working on 4 or 5 episodes at the same time. That is way not true. It is one episode at a time per week, and we just do our best to keep on track of everything that's going on. Have about, like I said, a roughly 1 week turnaround. Mix has it for like a day and a half. We find the soonest convenient time to review it and go over the notes with Mix of what we would like different or what we think is awesome, and then we send it on its happy little way to be uploaded.
Yep. Yeah, and if we find out 3 or 4 episodes later that, oh my gosh, there's this plot point that we didn't hit hard enough in episode 1, then we have the opportunity to go back and tweak some things, and then we'll upload a new version of the episode to the website. But for the most part, we try to we try to be familiar enough with the manga if it's available and everything else to where we can potentially spearhead any future problems before they occur, but that's some of these shows that we're working on do not have already released manga. That sometimes there's not necessarily just a whole treasure trove of information, so we kind of just have to do the best we can, and of course sticking as close to the translation and the spirit of the show as possible, and sure. So far, surprisingly enough, and I don't know, Mike, you might tell me I'm full of crap here, but surprisingly there have been relatively few issues. It's been smooth sailing as much as that can be for an episode a week, kind of crazy turnaround. But
yeah, the issues would only be in the mindset of or the issue being if the anime is different from the manga, or if, like Joel said, if the manga is not that far ahead, or if there's not manga at all. It's mostly been things like trying to work with a cast to make sure everyone is not going to go anywhere for 3 months because you don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. Or if they are going to go somewhere, they're at least going to have most of a week to be back.
All right, cool. So just, I guess, to transition into One Piece, since I think we're going to get yelled at if we don't ask anything about it. Season 7 recently got announced on this show, which is awesome news. And,
way to tote that.
Yeah, well, look, I gotta. If I don't, you're not gonna, are you, Steve? No.
I'm too modest.
You're the best at it. Anyway, so what do you guys? Where are you guys in the process right now? I guess I should ask. I'm sure a lot of people ask that question.
Well, at this point, we're tying up some things at the end of season 6, and we're mostly in the pre-production phase of season 7. So what we're kind of focusing on right now is some casting ideas. Just seeing who we want for different main characters and story arcs, and then just making sure we can get those people in. We've done very little auditioning. Because we've got a pretty good idea who we want and where, but yeah, so far we haven't really pushed into the recording part, but we on the production side are kind of getting all of our ducks in a row so that as soon as they say cool, contract signed, we're good to go, then we're going to go ahead and fill that week up with recording hours and just push ahead as fast and hard as we can. So yeah, right now it's mostly been in the planning phase, but even that part has been really exciting. Like we've kind of picked out some really fun things and some fun people to work with, and some cool surprises. I hope they're surprises, because that's what makes it fun. But yeah, that's kind of where we're sitting right now.
Yep.
And how far? I know, Mike and Joel, I know you've had to catch up a lot from when Steve was speaking to you at Youmacon, right? Or
Yeah,
So-
Yeah, I was trying to remember which convention. How far are you guys actually into One Piece? I know, Mike, you've been extraordinarily busy as well, so I understand if you're not super far in it.
I've been watching ahead. I think as I've mentioned before on the show, I try not to get too far ahead of where the production is, but being that I'm working on other things right now, and Joel is handling the ADR direction. I'm probably and I do watch it. I still watch it from time to time. I'm probably watching ahead. I'm in like the mid 400s, but that's just because I can get ahead.
Yeah, that's still far ahead. I mean,
it's still far behind current 680 nights, but it's way far ahead of where we currently are.
I think the last one I watched was, and that's the thing is there's nothing in my contract or anything that says that I need to watch ahead, and juggling several other shows, I didn't really think that was going to be a priority of mine is watching ahead on One Piece. I was kind of just trying to focus on what I had, available right now. These are the finalized scripts, this is what I need to focus on. But, I don't have to tell you guys that One Piece has a way of kind of dragging you in and not letting you stop, and you really want to go to sleep, but what happens next? So I'm probably at around 420, 430, something like that. I know Buggy has reappeared at Impel Down, and so there's some fun stuff going on that I'm really looking forward to getting to.
I'm sure Mike is looking forward to that bit.
Oh yeah, lots and lots of Buggy time.
Yeah, prepare for a very extended role.
That's true, yeah.
Speaking of Buggy, just because I guess it's kind of topical because he's shown up again on television recently with the Boss Luffy episodes. I'm kind of interested to ask Mike about directing those episodes.
Okay.
First of all, what was your reaction to them? Was it like interesting, or was it like, oh, this is going to be a difficult challenge?
No, I love it. I love I love One Piece anyway, but when there are things like Chopper Man, or when everyone is a late middle-aged woman, or any of those things, I think they're hilarious and fun to work with. Yeah. So the Edo stuff, I just thought it was a fun opportunity because I like period piece stuff, and so I thought it was fun to see what we could do as far as having honorifics and just a lot more Japanese culture in something like One Piece that's a little bit more broad and over the top and not quite as, regimented and serious as something that would be a period piece would normally be.
Yeah, it's definitely true. Steve, you had another question, right?
How did you enjoy Buggy's character in that? A little different, but pretty much the same.
Yeah, it's different but the same. I mean, that's a great way of describing it. Different, same mentality, same tendency to fail, but and same enemies, but just different setting. So it's fun to put him in different settings.
Cool.
Joel, I don't think we've had Joel on since we heard that he voices Kuma, right?
We have not. No.
So
that was announced like 2 days after I talked to you last time.
It's like, son of a bitch.
I think the interview came out after it got announced, but you recorded
it came out
before.
After, but recorded before. Yeah. Podcasting magic.
But how was that?
As with everything in the world of One Piece, a little stressful. A lot of people watch this show, and I don't know. Having done all my research and watched as many episodes as I have, and fallen in love with it, just I'd say almost as much as just about any fan. But the last thing I want to do is just screw it up, so actually I had gone to Mike when that batch of episodes popped up, and then I went to him and I was like, okay, all right, so here's some casting ideas I've got for all these characters that appear in this batch, and the very first cast idea list that I sent to Mike was just riddled with errors, not even really errors, but just things I should have known better, because I'm used to working on short run shows, at least short run in comparison to One Piece. And so, I'm, plugging in like, oh, what about this guy? He always does this kind of role. And so I had like this laundry list of people who, have already been in the show and are already characters and everything. And I was just like, oh, but they'd be good at this guy too, And so Mike was able to kind of, guide me in the right direction and say, no, you really need to think outside the box. You need to think about these actors that you have not worked with. But I kept getting stuck on Kuma, and I was telling him, I was like, I just don't understand. Like, I don't really know what I'm looking for with this guy. I was like, he's just this big, 14-foot tall, imposing looking Bible carrying dude with paw palms, and I was like, but his voice is kind of mid range. Like, it doesn't really sound like this deep booming Sabbity kind of voice. Sabbity is totally an adjective now, just so you know. But I was like, so I threw out another couple of ideas, and Mike at one point told me after we'd gone over a few of them, he was like, I actually was kind of considering possibly using you for the role, but the last thing I wanted was to, as a new recruit to the world of One Piece, the last thing I wanted was to start directing and then immediately cast myself in a large role, which I whether or not I was right for it, I was worried about how that would look, and all these other kind of things, but I told Mike that if he was willing to direct me in the first couple of episodes, so I could set the voice and make sure he was happy with it, make sure I was going in a direction that he, as someone who was involved with the show for many years, that was happy with that I was okay with that, and so Mike was kind enough to take some time out of his directing schedule, come over to my booth and help me set the voice and set the tone and all that, and yeah, it's fun. I really like the guy, but like he's I almost feel like I'm cheating because it's just so easy. It's just, like easy on the voice, it's just it's right here, and it's so nice. I like it.
It's like one of the only One Piece voices like that.
Like yeah, you landed yourself like a Zoro and a Robin role, pretty much.
Take it. Yeah.
Not a lot of yelling.
Mike, sorry, we.
Oh no, I was just going to say, not that the role is easy, but yes, it sits in a nice, easy place in Joel's voice. So,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mike, just like with you played so many One Piece characters, and you're directing the show. Was that like a common thing too? You'd bring in another director to kind of oversee you as you voiced over your character?
Well, when I was in the show, not that I'm not anymore, but currently not in anything that's being tracked in the show. If I was the director of that episode, I would direct myself. Now, I had Scott Sager and Jason Grundy and Caitlin Glass and a few other people have directed chunks of One Piece as well. And if I was in their episodes, then they were the director. Mm-hmm. Is pretty much how it worked out. There's many shows over the how long have I been directing? Like
8 years.
15 something years of ADR direction that I've been in. And a long time ago, I think it came up even in I think the first thing was Dragon Ball, where the hours came up and I was directing. I'm like, it's Master Roshi hours. Do I do that or et cetera, et cetera? And I think the initial mindset was, we'll have someone else come in and direct you for that portion. But the experiment went, not necessarily awry, but that person came in and knew how to direct, but didn't know what was going on in that episode or in that arc. They just knew how to be an ADR director. So that kind of set the precedent forward for other people of, if you are in charge of that material, if you're the ADR director of that and you happen to be in it too, then you're directing yourself.
It's interesting. I never actually knew the answer to that, so I felt like I just had to ask.
And I don't know about you, Mike, but I'll say directing yourself, at least as far as I'm concerned, is just one of the most nerve-wracking things in the world, because I really like having that other set of ears, that say, that worked or that didn't work, whatever. And so I tend to get the same take or the same line 2 or 3 times more, than I need to, just because I'm getting inside my head and second guessing myself. It's gotten better since I've been doing it more, but I don't know. It's still not my comfort zone, I'd say.
I don't mind it myself so much. Maybe, because I go back to Dragon Ball days or whatever. Maybe it's because I've done it a couple more times here and there. But I try to make it a rule upon myself to treat myself as an actor the same way that I would treat another actor in the booth.
Yeah.
So, if it's wrong, it's wrong, and if it's right, it's right. And if I would approve it if someone else was in the booth and we were moving right along, then I'm going to approve what I did and not be super hypercritical of every little tiny thing that I do when, us individuals as actors and as artists, we're always going to beat ourselves up in some capacity. So
Yeah.
Steve, go ahead. Sorry.
It was the subject we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
You don't have to say too much.
Too much.
Wait. I'm just curious. The idea of a broadcast dub for One Piece. Your opinions.
That makes me very tired.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, I don't want to say too much about it. I can't imagine. I don't want to say too much about it. Yeah.
Good.
I think I can safely say that whether or not One Piece ever goes to a broadcast dub, as much as I think the fans would love that, and we would love to be able to do that for them, but I don't think you can't possibly know what that means, like from a logistical standpoint. There are a lot of shows that right now I'm working on Assassination Classroom. I've got 30 named characters in the class. I have, in addition to 5 other named main recurring characters, so I've got 35 people that generally appear in every episode. We're doing one a week, and the logistical nightmare involved, with getting those 35 people scheduled every week without fail it's a nightmare, and I don't use that word lightly. It is a freaking nightmare, and so far we've been able to knock it out, and so far we haven't skipped a beat. Everything's been going good, but now you extrapolate that, and even if we're just looking at our 150 Marines in a given episode, that in itself is a task. So I'm not saying it won't happen. I'm not saying that it's not something that I would like to see happen, but I will say that if it does, oh my God, we love you guys.
Do you think it will be a similar situation to the original airing of your dub on Cartoon Network, where you had multiple directors working on it in different studios? Would you see that happening again?
I was going to chime in on that. Yeah, that's the closest situation that we've had to this scenario. Is we had the Cartoon Network push, while we also had like a home video release, DVD, etc. type really push going on at the same time. There was anywhere of possibly 3 or 4 directors in various booths and various, day or night shifts working on One Piece in some capacity. And I was having to go in every room and make sure that we were all making the same show. And in, booth reviews and in mix reviews and things like that, make sure that, this filter's not missed when this attack is called out. And this person says this, and, that's within the realm of this character of what they would say, and that's not, and try to keep all of those things intact. If we were to do some push like that, I think that it would just have to go down that path again. It would have to be multiple rooms of people working on the show at the same time, and having, 1 or 2 people, Joel and myself, spearheading and trying to look over everything to make sure that everybody was in fact making the same show.
Well, and beyond that, I mean, it sounds like, and if we were to go that route, we would need to have studio space in just about every major city in the country. Just in case, like if Crocodile pops up for 2 lines, and John Swayze's down in Houston, he's not about to drive up for that, but we need it this week. Oh my God! So we'd have to rent studio space in Houston, have it recorded out there, have it sent in, make sure that it lines up and sounds like all the other audio in the show, all that kind of stuff, and then of course you've got people out in L.A. and Chicago, New York, and just all across the globe, and so it would be a significant undertaking, but we've tackled challenges before. I don't know.
We have tackled challenges before. I mean, as you guys know from looking at the cast list over the years, I and myself and others have tried to keep it fresh and interesting, bring in people from out of town that are experienced and talented voice actors from other cities and other groups. And that becomes more and more difficult as you're trying to have a 7-day turnaround for each individual episode. Yeah. It's one thing to bring someone out for 6 episodes at a time, 12 episodes at a time, or something like that for a nice recurring character, even if they don't say much per episode, because it's, you can get it all knocked out in a big batch. But it becomes very hectic to try to track people down, as Joel just said, 2 or 3 lines from someone who lives in Chicago, 2 or 3 lines from someone who lives in Vancouver, 2 or 3 lines from someone who lives in Los Angeles. Same thing for New York, wherever else. That becomes a whole lot of, man, I hope this all works out within the next 7 days.
Yeah.
Logistically, just, talking off the top of my head here, is it a lot easier to do something like a speed up, so kind of like what happened back in 2007 with seasons 1, 2, and 3 going on at the same time? If that were to happen now, without such crazy time constraints that would come out of a broadcast dub, is that a significantly easier hypothetical undertaking?
I don't know if it's significantly easier, but just being that there would be, if you take the broadcast aspect out of it and just make it a home release, there's more wiggle room for sure. That's just the way that it works out. I mean, over a span of a month or 6 weeks, you can turn in a batch of episodes versus you absolutely must turn in 1 a week.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just some quick math to assess that.
So you're saying there's a chance?
I have no idea what's going on with broadcast dubs of any show, let alone One Piece. It's more or less, yeah, okay, this is what's happening tomorrow.
Yeah.
I think right now people are. I think we had Josh from the brand manager for One Piece, and he wanted to gauge opinion for it and see, if
Sure.
people actually would want it. So it's definitely interesting to hear the logistical. I mean, we all know. I think the main concern from fans that we saw, and we had, there were like thousands and thousands of people who responded, and the main concern was, is it logistically possible? And so I guess it's possible, but just incredibly difficult, which is
anything that you kick into hyperdrive like that's difficult. I'm not trying to talk down that possibility by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm not going to say that it's equally as easy as doing anything else that we do, because that's just not true.
Yeah.
I mean, it's as you said, there's 500 Marines and 50,000 other characters to inhabit a city or whatever it is in any given episode.
Yeah.
Right.
I could imagine. All right, so let's do our lightning round, fan questions. Steve and Dude, you guys ready too? Do you want to rotate, Steve, Dude, or do you want me to? I'll let me get it started. We're totally professional, I know.
Absolutely.
As are Joel.
Professional.
So first one comes from Benjamin Oscar for Mike and Joel. Favorite One Piece moments that have. He asked on Toonami. I'll ask that you have done so far, or you have worked on, or that you have watched.
I'm not sure. There's a lot of favorite funny One Piece moments. I think I mentioned before, and I'm not going to get the episode numbers right or anything like that, because it hasn't been completely fresh on my brain probably since fall of 2013 or so. But then they went to the prison.
Oh, Enies Lobby.
Enies Lobby. I'm so good. I'm so sorry. Because now we're dealing with another prison. And the scene with the refrigerator opening and closing.
Yes, that's a great scene.
Yes, that makes me laugh every time.
Joel?
I think my favorite moment that I've seen in the show was pretty early on. It was the fight between Usopp and Luffy over the impending death of the Going Merry, because that's when I think I fell in love with the show on like a really deep level. Like I already appreciated it because it reminded me of the kind of shows I watched growing up. But that was kind of when I realized that there is so much more to this show than just, let's fight this new bad guy. It was dealing with, I thought, a really complex human issue and doing it really well and very sincerely with characters that at that time I did not consider to be terribly deep, because it was early on in the series. We really hadn't had a chance to really delve into the backstories and and the intricacies of each character. And so when they end up in this very heart-wrenching battle between best friends over this disagreement, I think that's when the show just just kind of settled in for me. But I'd say of all my favorite moments that I've gotten to direct, I'd say Colleen Clinkenbeard playing Oars in the Thriller Bark arc.
That's fun.
Oh my God, that's so funny. And she loves doing it. And I don't know, I generally like having actors play opposites anyway. That's, either I want someone playing something that is very natural to them, or I want them playing something that is totally opposite. And Colleen is brilliant. She's a really, really smart woman who can really direct and act and all these other amazing things. But getting her to play really painfully stupid is just hysterical to me. And she had so much fun with it.
Yeah.
Next one comes from, I'll try and go through these quick. I apologize, guys. Matthew asks, do you see any differences in your directing styles which show up in the final product?
Ooh, Mike.
What's up?
I was saying, Mike, please.
Everyone's got a little bit of a difference of directing style, and no two people are going to direct exactly the same. Colleen Clinkenbeard and I directed the first FMA dub together, and Caitlin helped out a little bit with Brotherhood, and there have been many directors. I named some earlier: Caitlin, Jason Grundy, Scott Sager, Joel, myself, and a few other people have worked. Zach Bolton have all worked on the One Piece dub. There's a little bit of difference in everybody. I think what holds it together is everyone's love for the show, the lead characters being very familiar with their parts and their place in the show, and just respect for the original material. If you can keep all of those things intact, while you still might have a little bit of varied style in what each individual director does, you're overall making the same show, and that seems to be the important thing.
I like to think that, I know that there are directorial differences between any couple of directors, but one thing that I always try to focus on whenever I jump on to, even just a season 2 of a show that's already had a season 1 dub, is that I just maintain the integrity and the tone that was already created before I came along. And so, if I do that, then if you, the audience, can tell any difference in the directing style, then I have failed. I'm sure we all have, and we definitely have different styles in the booth. I'm going to treat a session with an actor differently than Mike would, or than Bevins would, or than Tyler would. But for a show like this, it is my sincere hope that that you guys would watch it and have no idea who directed it. If you're able to watch it and say, "Oh, Joel definitely directed that," and you're right, then I did something wrong, because you should be watching it and saying, "Oh, that's One Piece." My style or tone or whatever I have, that's specific to me should never pop up in One Piece, and I hope it never does. I just hope it keeps on rocking the way it was before I ever showed up.
John Simpson asks, it's a one-word answer, so it's good. Who is your favorite Straw Hat? I'm sure you've gotten this question before.
I go back.
Straw Hat, plural. All of those Straw Hats.
I go back and forth, but right now I'm totally in the Usopp camp.
Good. Yeah, it's a good camp to be in.
I find his bravery, when he is brave, the handful of moments, I find that way more compelling than and interesting than Zoro's bravery. So when it's coming from a place of cowardice and fear, and it's not in his nature. So when he does buck up, I don't know, there's not much more you can do to really get me, at your back, than fighting through your lesser nature to, do what has to be done. And Usopp does that. And also he's really funny, and also I get to work with Sonny Strait. And so all these things are pluses.
Yeah, those are all good things. I just don't know if I could pick a Straw Hat. It switches from favorites and groups of favorites all the time. I will say that working on the Water 7 and Annie's Lobby arc, that I totally fell for Robin a lot more than I had before, just because it's concentrated on her so much, and the character and Stephanie got to do a lot more things than what they had done in the show prior to that point, and it just made me feel for that character so much more than before.
There's a reason that's people's favorite arc for like the most part, like the majority of fans. Yeah. So we had a lot of different questions along this line. What are you looking forward to most in season 7? What has been your favorite moment that you've seen so far? I guess a minor spoiler alert here for people who are, for some reason, or have not seen this yet.
Spoilers. Let's see. For me, I'm interested to see, because they've only hinted on it so far, I'm interested to see the individual Straw Hat stories, because most of what I've watched so far has mostly been what is happening to Luffy. So I'm interested to see what all happens with everyone else. I'm also interested to see what happens with all of everything that happens in Impel Down and the various people that they meet in there.
You'll get to be in a lot of that.
Yeah, he will.
I'm looking forward in season 7 to 3 things: the supernovas. I'm really, really excited about getting to play around with those guys and girl. I'm excited about Boa Hancock, because finally I've got a sexy female anime character that is drawn like an actual human sexy female. I'm a big fan of Boa Hancock.
That's good.
Two.
Well, and, Nami's cute and everything, but, like, realistically, her spine would snap. Like, there's no way.
And it gets worse and worse.
Hancock does not have that problem. But specifically, I think, of my watching ahead, there was a scene that I was laughing so hard that I actually could not explain to my wife why I was laughing, so I just had to rewind and show her. Luffy gets a handy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah!
It's a mushroom.
The mushroom moment.
It's really funny.
That's my favorite. That's my favorite episode title.
That's like
the mushroom moment.
What would the Toei title for that be? Trouble on Amazon Lily. Luffy gets a handy.
well, handy snack. Yeah. That moment. That moment's like super Dragon Ball. Like
it is.
Yeah, you're right. Actually,
I didn't think about it like that. But yeah.
This is perfect. Who's the sexiest Straw Hat? Allison asked. Both man and ladies, so you have to pick one of each, I guess.
We have to pick a sexiest Straw Hat for both genders. All right.
Or you could pick a gender if you'd like, but I think it's only fair that both genders get a representative. Although there's only 2 for one of them.
I think for the men, I've got to go with Zoro. Sanji's up there, but Zoro's just got that Idris Elba kind of like muscly fear thing going on. Like, I would both cower from him and beg him to come closer.
I don't know. I'm kind of torn between Zoro and Sanji. Zoro for the same reason that Joel just mentioned, and then Sanji for more of the not quite as huge chest, but also extremely capable of kicking much butt and being a bit more suave, at least in his mind.
Yeah,
it's only in his mind.
But only in his mind is he James Bond.
For the girls though, and I'll totally backtrack on what I said a minute ago, because like Nami works, like as non-human as she is drawn, that's there are some fun things about Nami. I'd definitely ship those 2.
Yeah. I'm also torn, as I said before, like I said on Zoro and Sanji, I'm very much torn between Robin and Nami. They both have aspects that make them the sexy.
But how can we really have this conversation about a sexy Straw Hat and not mention Chopper? I mean, that's just...
That feels a little wrong for several reasons.
Oh, guard point. Yeah.
I can't follow that.
Perfect for.
I think we got a. Oh, Steve, you have more questions, right?
Yeah, it's time for our favorite reoccurring segment, Terry Doty questions. This first one is for Mike. It's, why do you eat like a One Piece character? Is it just part of your method?
I don't think I do, but I like to eat a lot of varying styles and cultures and different types of food. And I guess as far as why do you eat like a One Piece character, I eat quick. I do know that, especially at lunchtime. I have never gotten it out of my head that I have time to sit down and eat lunch. Lunch, from the time when I started public schooling, has been I have to finish this as fast as I possibly can because they haven't given me enough time. I think when I was in middle school, lunch period was 20 minutes.
That's rough.
That is
and so lunch for me is always I don't have enough time to eat this and enjoy it, so I'm going to, snap lower jaw, shove food in, swallow all food, and go back to work. Dinner time is the time for enjoying food.
Yeah, that was a very good answer. Very good question. Joel, who would you rather fight, Elmo or Count Chocula?
Count Chocula, dude. Like, I would fight the hell out of Count Chocula. He's got the teeth. He's got the reach. Like, I don't know. Yeah, absolutely. He's asking for it.
He's got the chocolate, too.
Is he like a piñata? If you punch him too hard, chocolate comes out of him?
Just marshmallows.
I don't know, but I'll find out.
Another question for you, Joel. Weirdest piece of One Piece artwork you've come across?
Oh, okay. Oh, this is actually easy. I was talking about this earlier today. I recently came across a picture of this awesome One Piece or this Kuma hoodie that somebody had made, and it was this really cool, obviously kind of hand done, homemade or whatever Kuma hoodie. It had the bullseye on it and little paw prints and everything, and it was a picture. The girl who was wearing it was a Nami cosplayer, and I saw the picture and I thought it was really cool, but I couldn't remember what website I'd seen it on, and so like a week later I decided to go back and try to find this thing, but I didn't know what to search for, so I just typed in Kuma Nami something.
Bad idea.
I don't remember what it was. Don't ever type in Nami and anybody in Kuma or in One Piece, because what pops up is not okay. Like,
turn that safe search on if you don't want to see it.
No, I definitely should have done that. I will say, I've seen some neat One Piece art, but that was the first time I was literally terrified. I should not have Googled that, especially not at work.
Yeah, those proportions. I feel I'm not going to get too far into that.
Yeah, no, let's not.
How could she survive?
She can't.
I don't want to think about it too much. And last question for Mike.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Why not?
I think that's the answer, isn't it?
That's,
perhaps.
Yeah, perhaps.
The answer to why is why not?
Well, that's the end of that segment.
Thanks, Terry.
Thank you, Terry, who may or may not be listening. Thank you guys for coming on. This is the first time we've done anything like this with two people who have kind of been through the same ordeal, I could call it, or experience.
One Piece.
One Piece. Or there are the ordeals, It's a weird reference there.
Mike and Joel are both priests who run the section of Skypea that is the ordeal of One Piece dubbing.
Indeed.
They're attacked by constant bit parts.
Hey, they would have been way more tolerable than Satoru is as a character. I'm sorry, that's my personal problem. Do you guys have anything coming up that you'd like people to know, Mike?
Coming up that I would like people to know.
Besides NDA coming soon, as we discussed.
Continue to watch for broadcast dubs of Tokyo Ghoul, and I'm looking forward to having my copy of that Hyperdimension Neptunia anime in hand. It was a lot of fun to record, and it was fun to work with a lot of the... I mean, I've worked with some of that California cast before, but I certainly hadn't worked with all of them before. And I think... since there is a little bit of hoopla going on around about it and people are curious, 99% of that was recorded in Dallas. So just about everybody came into the studio to record on site, and I thought that was a huge, cool effort on everyone's part. And I can't wait to have my hands on that and give that a spin. And other than that, it's other stuff that I can't talk about.
Joel?
Every Wednesday, tune in for the next installment of the Assassination Classroom broadcast dub. That's a lot of fun. Episode 4 just aired last Wednesday, so episode 5 is coming up, and they're all one of my favorites, but it's really good. Also, I'll be at KitsuneCon in Green Bay, Wisconsin this weekend, and this will be the first convention I get to go to after the release of the Space Dandy box set for first season. So I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of Dandy cosplayers and people with that stuff to sign, because that's I was very fortunate and very blessed to get to work on that show as well. I've had a pretty blessed couple of years. So yeah, that's me.
Oh, I didn't even think of con appearances. This weekend I'm at Toronto Comic Con, and the following weekend I'm at Emerald City Comic Con. First one in Toronto, obviously, the second one in Seattle. And those will be good times for all.
Awesome.
I'm going to go to Canada. Stupid Wisconsin.
Just keep going north, Joel.
Yeah. So I just stop by, do a panel on the way.
Do it from the car. You just a live stream panel from the car.
Yeah.
Get some cheese.
Watch the cheese melt into delicious melted cheese onto French fries. It's a poutine. I don't know. Wisconsin to Canada.
Well done. There you go. That's how that works. Your cheese just turns into poutine as you go north. I think that's a good place as any to end it. Thank you both for coming on. It's been awesome. Hope to have you guys on soon. I don't want to...
Hey, anytime.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
This is the anime recap for episode 684. Gathering into a powerful front, Luffy and a group of brutal warriors. Super short recap this week. It's and everything actually looks really nice.
And we also needed the recap more because we had those Grover Cleveland breaks, as we're calling them, 2 non-consecutive weeks off.
Yeah, but we did manage to start the episode at like 4.5 minutes.
That's great, yeah.
I know. It's
like a minute recap?
Yeah, and everything looked really well animated, so I felt like they're going to cram a lot of good content into this episode. And I think
makes me really worried about next week. But yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, I didn't look super close at the next episode previews.
Yeah, it looked okay, but I don't know. Anyway, let's talk about this week, though.
Look at Usopp's face throughout the whole first scene. It's amazing. His eyes keep moving, and the way he like screams on his way down, and then Leo dives down to catch him when he falls because apparently tontados do get tired.
Caught him by the skin of his nose.
Yeah, and that looked really well animated. And I had high hopes for animation this week.
And that was filler too, I think, right? Did that happen? I don't
care. Yeah, I think I would have recalled tontadas dropping Usopp because that's comedy gold.
Yeah, that didn't happen in the manga. I don't think.
Nah,
I could check too, but I'm like 90% sure.
Like the climbing of the net, I barely remember to begin with.
Well, who the hell would want to read that?
I don't know. A net climber aficionados?
Oda's storytelling changed, man. He used to show you guys climbing the net. Now he just skips that.
He's forgotten all about the spirit of pirates.
Exactly.
Climbing the nets.
The Bono. Forgotten about the spirit of pirates.
It's more of the angry Canadian, but...
Oh, yeah.
Don't worry, folks. Oda will get the help he need.
He'll get all the help he needs. So we see Pika's fist crater, and that actually, like the whole destroy where his fist is, it reminds me of the Great Terminal a lot. One guy actually says the town got squashed.
You got it.
Yeah.
Cub's not here yet.
Running is not going to help anybody. So even Fujitora is just staring on.
Well, he's not really staring at anything in particular.
Yeah, that's right.
He's just standing there.
Zoro seems unimpressed, though. He sort of looks around and he sees Luffy hanging from a flagpole, and there's lots of repartee to say anything in this episode. Yeah, especially with Cavendish and Law and all the Coliseum guys, and Zoro not understanding at all who they are.
Now that I have the volume open, and I'm very surprised to say this, but this was less than a chapter. This was around 3/4 of a chapter worth of content.
Sometimes it can be done well.
Apparently, even with the slow pacing, I thought it was.
Yeah, I really liked all the padding. Like, even the Cavendish padding, which I was sort of dreading because it took up, like, most of the next episode preview from last week.
That's true.
Cavendish is delightful until he wears out his welcome.
Yeah.
And he hasn't done that yet, so.
He may do that.
It's kind of been a while since we've seen Cavendish do his shtick anyway. So
yeah, that's true. It's been a while since we've seen any of these guys do their shtick at this point, so I think the shticks are a little less worn out.
I also decided to time Cavendish's like little padding bit, and it was only about a minute long, which is not as long as I would have thought. So
it was fine. I actually laughed
job,
because I thought the voice actor did a very funny job. With
the
it.
voice acting was really good. I thought the poses and the animation were fine.
I like the cardboard cutouts and the "Hey, I'm Mr. This." And
It was visually
funny.
It was visually and audioly appealing.
Audibly.
Audibly.
no, that is orally. It's orally. It's orally and orally. I probably pronounced.
Sounds like you're saying orally.
They're pronounced similarly, but it's AUR and it's ORA. It's different.
You learn something new every day.
Yeah,
As Kevin Smith says, podcasts give good oral. So
that's true. Yeah. They do.
So we see that Zoro is unimpressed, and after Luffy is hanging on the flagpole, they plummet to the ground, and Law is trying to chastise them for laughing at Pika's voice like it means certain death. You've already declared war on Doflamingo. You know, there's no leniency here. Laughing at Pika is just, you have the freedom to do it because you're already going to die, basically.
Doflamingo would have let that whole declaring war on him thing slide, but laughing at Pika.
Yeah, and I understand why Law is the character to say that, but it doesn't make him not stupid for saying it.
Law could be stupid too. No one said he couldn't be.
And Zoro actually says here that Pika is bigger than Oars. I did not remember that from the manga. But
he clearly is, though. I mean, it doesn't take any, deduction for that.
I mean, Thriller Bark, I'm sure, is smaller than Dressrosa. It's a country, so.
Yeah, and even then, it's a ship compared to a country, and even then, Oars was huge, but this is ridiculous. Pika's enormous.
Right. And so here comes Cavendish. Cavendish is back. So we see that he's not attacking Zoro and Luffy because one of his crew saved him, but he tries to kill Law, and he tries to sneak up on him. He's like, "Oh, here is your hat. Let me cut your head off." It's like,
let me just cut your head off while I put this hat back on it.
I can see the sword behind your back.
That I remembered from the manga.
Yeah, that was in the manga.
That definitely happened. Well, how else would Law get his hat?
How did he put it on then? Someone must have still put it on his head. Because he was handcuffed. Huh?
He just used his mouth. He's like, oof.
And he flips it up with his mouth like that. Anyway, Ed.
This is the Cavendish little filler scene with him doing the play into the cameras and the imaginary thing and a bright light's big cabbage. Basically, he becomes a being of pure light at one point. He's so bright.
Light's big cabbage.
I love how Zoro even asks, "It's like that can't be a real name, Cabbage."
Come on. Well, if you were in Dragon Ball,
Saiyan. Yeah,
if you were in Dragon Ball, you wouldn't second guess it.
That's true.
Well, if it isn't my old friend Cabbage.
And squash.
And I shouldn't say.
You want it curling?
No,
if we're in that range.
No,
So Luffy wanders off in the middle of Cabbage's whole rant there, and they use season 1 light orchestral music, and I had not heard that in a long time. It felt like Barakie music.
No, I did hear that recently. I feel like it was on the Toonami episode.
That might be.
I think they used exclusively season 1 and then movie 7 music, but that's a different recap that we'll talk about after this.
And so Pika's been getting just angrier and angrier the entire time this has been going on. Luffy's laugh has driven him totally crazy.
What does he sound like, Alex?
Okay, you were breaking the levels.
Hey, it sounds like steam escaping.
Yes.
Nice tea kettle there. And then Luffy tries to explain to Zoro who Cabbage is, but he's like, he's a guy. I met him at the Coliseum. There's a whole bunch of other guys. They're all crazy. And Luffy, he just can't explain it. It's unexplainable. Zoro wouldn't understand anyway. So they get chased by a bunch of random townspeople. All the people, I think, from the underground, the people who used to boss around the toys, are also former toys themselves, I think. But
yeah,
then
they mention that.
Yeah, Chinchou family shows up and he starts chasing Luffy along with all the other people. And then we go to the ad, come back, and we see that Chinchou has offered to kill Doflamingo after like rocketing ahead of Luffy, and he thinks he's about to attack him, but then Hiruden butts in and he offers his help, and Elisabello is there, and Dagama is there,
and they all offer their help.
No, I'm gonna list all of them.
Fine.
Jade and Abdullah are there, Orlumbus is there, Idio is there, Suleiman's there, Blue Gilly is there, and Cabbage is also back too.
I love the horse sound effect when he rides back. You just hear it. It's always like, oh, not that guy again. And
so if you're wondering
and Cup and the Dinobots. Sorry.
And if you're wondering where all the time in this episode went,
that scene,
I have like half as many notes for the second half of the episode as the first half.
I guess it was that
everyone
scene.
Has to talk every time.
But my favorite part is how enormous, not even including the Conehead part, but how enormous Don Chinchou's head is compared to Luffy. His like mouth is the size of Luffy's body. It makes no sense. It makes One Piece sense.
That is not what I thought you were going to say. I thought you were going to talk about how Hiruden has to bend down with his head between his feet to talk. But he must talk every time when someone says something.
Well, that's so.
Yeah, everyone must have their opinions.
Hold on, are you talking to me? Let me get down first. Oh, you weren't talking to me. Oh, okay.
It's like this podcast. Everyone has to.
My name? No.
Everyone has to get their thoughts in. It's like
Zoro is so confused.
Even Luffy's a bit confused.
What is going on?
And in the Crunchyroll subs, they actually have Abdullah swearing. Although we give like the scanlations shit a lot for swearing.
Well, what kind of swear was it? I don't even remember.
I think it calls someone an asshole, but it's more.
Abdullah and Jeet, it's fine.
It makes so much more sense coming from Abdullah because they're like the scummiest guys of even the Coliseum, I think.
It makes sense for Abdullah, Jeet, and Goku to swear, and that's really it. I wouldn't go beyond that.
Yep, sounds about right.
Say it didn't bother me because also it was the only even remotely questionable thing in the entire episode. Now we get the return of Musi, and he's so happy to see Luffy too.
And Luffy's happy to see him.
They call him Musi, quicker than lightning.
He likes fighting all those great guys.
They're not so great. So everyone, all the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 people charge against the
plus
schmucks.
Law, who's incapacitated, and Luffy.
Do you want to go through
Luffy and Zoro?
Do you want to go through each of their motivations to why they're doing this?
No.
Nope.
Wealth, fame, power.
Pretty much.
All
Although
these things and
Elisabella's
more.
was the best. King Riku.
Get a room.
So
We're in a room. Wait.
Listen, wait.
So everyone charges at the schmucks and the townspeople. They stand no chance. So Pika is getting even angrier now, and he yells at everyone, and then they laugh at him for about 20 seconds. Everyone gets a good laugh.
Yeah, I don't think that was in it.
Pika's voice? I don't recall this.
Let me look. I don't think that happened.
But sense though. It's funny though that all these guys are like, "Oh, it's a battle," and
I thought it was great. I loved
them cracking up. I thought that was great.
Mm-hmm. I like how even Luffy was just spitting out of his mouth. Like that was a good bit.
No, that doesn't happen.
That's fine.
Good.
But it's time wasting, but I did enjoy seeing all of those characters.
Musi, all that does happen. It's just each one had a panel instead of a 5-minute speech or whatever. It wasn't that bad. But.
I kind of glossed over everyone giving their speeches to, why they're going to help. But the point is they're going to help.
Mm-hmm. Musi got more panels in the manga than anyone else.
Good. He should.
He should, I agree.
But then Elisabello and Chinzhou do a tandem attack, and that was actually really well done. And
that was amazing. I thought that was done so freaking well.
And then Pika makes a noise at the end of the episode, dude.
Oh, gosh.
That's not what he said at all.
He's just sort of squealing, basically.
All right, it was.
You are going to break my headphones.
That's the idea.
Oh God.
Goodness.
So good. What'd you guys think of the episode overall? Because that was the end, pretty much, when his arm gets destroyed.
Steve, you want to go first?
Felt like I had a hard time getting into this episode. Just maybe the beginning, like the post-Pika effect. I felt like they were just Zoro, Luffy, and Law were just kind of hanging around, like, oh, yeah, that was pretty crazy. Yeah, let's talk about it. I don't know. It's for the most part, it's following the canon, so I can't complain. Just wasn't too into it. I did like the added bits. I thought the Cavendish stuff worked out well. I did like all the ruffians laughing at Pika.
Dude?
Yeah, I actually liked it. I could tell that most of the episode is padding, but it was entertaining.
Also well animated, I thought.
Yeah.
And well animated. Yeah, they didn't really cut too many corners. I feel like they were saving a lot of budget for Pika because, they don't want that to look like complete shit.
They've been doing a good job with that so far. I was scared about it, and we always said you have one job, and they've been doing it pretty damn good, pretty damn well.
Yeah, I'm just anticipating the drop in quality.
It's gonna happen.
Yeah,
probably next week. Hopefully not next week. Yeah, I thought I agree with what you were saying basically through this, Ed. It was a solid episode, good animation. The only thing we ask for is, we know what's going to happen in the episode because we all read the mangas. So what we're asking for is a little entertaining, and if you're going to add stuff, make it entertaining as well. And I think they did that all well, and it looked good. So I think this was a perfectly good. I think Chris Beveridge from Fandom Post gave it B+. This is a totally B+ episode. I agree.
Non-climactic One Piece episodes don't usually get more than. I don't think it's possible for a non-climactic One Piece episode to get more than that because they usually aren't that good. But this is about as good as it gets.
At least if we're rating it, yeah.
Because frequently, even when episodes are well done, there's so very little plot development, and that was basically the case here. But it's so well. I mean, it's filler, but it's well done. It looks nice, and the characters are fun.
You want to go into the Toonami recap now, Ed?
Sounds good.
Let's do it.
When it comes to episodes that have a lot of padding, it's as good as it gets. I'm Jack Nicholson.
This is the Toonami Recap for episode 292. A big rice cake tossing race at the castle. Red Nose's plot.
Before we get into that exciting rice cake action, let's go through some ratings, Ed. Mm-hmm. So One Piece, as you know, premiered last week at 8:30. We talked a lot about it, and we still want you guys to watch that as long as it exists. But it needs good ratings as part of it. It did.
I'm not saying it's going to get canceled, but it's a very nice time slot. It'd be a shame if anything were to happen to it.
Exactly, Ed. Thank you for that mafioso type.
I'm not threatening you, but I'm threatening you.
Shame something would happen to it. One Piece is getting canceled.
No, One Piece at 8:30. This is last week, so I think it was the 7th of March. Got 707,000 for a total of 0.49 household. That's a 0.24 adult 18 to 49 rating. Just to put things in comparison, that was unfortunately the worst of that pre-midnight Adult Swim lineup. Dragon Ball Z Kai, for example, got over 1 million, but not much. It only got a 0.3 in the 18 to 49, so it pretty similar. Didn't lose that much of the core demographic. And 707,000 isn't terrible. They've been trying to get that time slot to do better, so they're clearly experimenting a little here. Hopefully it did better this week. By the time you're listening, you probably know whether or not it did. Regardless of whether or not it did, make sure to watch as long as it still is airing next week. And actually at 3:30 a.m., which was daylight savings time, it was 2:30 a.m., it got 888,000, so it actually got over 100,000 more, or almost 200,000 more viewers at 3:30 in the morning, with a 0.6 household rating and a 0.4 18 to 49, which is 536,000 18 to 49 year olds. So that's the news. That's the ratings.
Sure. Filler week this week. So, although the narrator this week is appropriately haughty for the time period, and he's no time to take it easy.
Yeah, that's about how excited I was about it. Sorry. Go ahead.
So Nami is on top of the cart being taken by the Blue Nose Sensei and Sanji, or Onami, as she's known in these episodes.
I thought in the last episode, I just want to say that every time they said Blue Nose Sensei, I thought they were saying Blue Nose Sensei.
They should have been.
So I totally tweeted last week. It's like, where is Bluno from the bar? Why isn't he here?
I think someone just responded with, he ain't real, he did.
Exactly. That's what someone said.
D-E-D. Did.
He did. Indeed.
So, Nami is bossing around the invisible townsfolk who are nowhere to be found, apparently, because it's a New Year's festival that Chopper is completely unfamiliar with, and so we have to explain it to him in detail.
And
Getting
good thing, because neither am I.
That's true.
Jeez. Okay.
Rice cakes, Ed. Rice cakes.
Luffy sneezes because he's being talked about.
This episode, for people who are like
Japanese,
it's like it's a little overboard because you also got the sensei and this. I get why, because they're in quote unquote Japan.
Japan.
Grand Japan.
Japan.
You say Japan, I say Japan.
I'm so happy anime does not get dubbed this way because it's so distracting. Like normally,
I think I tweeted this, but like
they use
these
honorifics
episodes. I like that they use honorifics in these episodes in the dub. I think it's fitting, but
it's supposed to evoke a certain country in a certain time period.
Exactly, but it's just further proof. I'm like, oh wow, these sound so awkward in English language.
It does.
Yeah.
And like, hi there, Sanji-kun. And I'm just like, just don't call him that in the dub.
See, isn't it glad? I mean, aren't you glad, folks, that localization is a thing?
Some people,
there's people listening who are just like angry as shit about that opinion.
Well, guess what? I'm right here.
And they're far away from you?
Yes.
Let's keep them that way. These angry people, whoever they are. So we see our first cameos of the episode. Patty, Pagaya, and Konus. They're here, and they're all talking about rice cakes. They're very excited for the thing.
As nonsensical as they are, I love that we get all these cameos just to hear the voices again.
It's practically like a big East Blue reunion, these episodes. Though this one expands a little bit more.
Skypiea and Alabasta, yeah.
And yeah.
There was, because we also, I'm not going to spoil it.
I think I have all of them written down here, at least the major ones. So Dalton is there, and we get to hear Tatum. Tatum's on this episode.
Oh.
Yeah.
Bring him back.
He's making rice porridge. We see Orika and the Usopp pirates discussing what they would buy if they won the prize, and that nerd is being selfish. Buying books all for himself.
Onion? Onion's like, oh, I'd buy a bunch of books. And then Orika's just like, I'd want to pay for a vacation and go with all my friends. And I'm surprised Onion's like, oh, now I feel bad. It's like the first time I ever recall hearing that girl's name in these episodes.
Yeah.
Well, they mentioned it last week. Okay.
In these episodes. Maybe she was referred to by name at least once in the Captain Morgan stuff. I never recall.
I'm sure she was.
Yeah.
Yeah. So porridge hijinks ensue, and Robin helps Luffy out. Yeah, that's what happened. So they make reference. Onami mentions that someone might want to steal the 10,000 berry or Rio berry rice cake. So smash cut to Buggy, who is there, and I think the offensive Buggy pirate is in this episode. But they've fixed his lips basically.
Well, he's wearing like face paint, so you can't.
He's wearing full face paint and like full garb. So
I completely forgot that was a thing.
Yeah. Well, it is a caricature. It's not cool.
No, it's him and Mr. Popo.
He's got nothing on Mr. Popo though.
No, he doesn't.
And
At
actually,
least in the One Piece world, there's a lot more people with big lips like that, like Usopp. But I don't know. I'm not going to make an argument here.
Yeah. It's still not good. But they fight on the bridge, and Chomper like pushes the front of the cart down. So Sanji's up in the up hanging on the thing, doing like Russian ballerina kicks, and kicks everyone off the bridge. And
this was a Looney Tunes episode if I've ever seen one.
Yeah. Buggy is, I don't know, they're kind of cheapening Buggy, which makes it, knowing what we know now about
Buggy. That happens again. I hate to tell fans.
Well, I mean, knowing what we know about him now, I kind of wish they didn't bring him back so much for this, but yeah. What are you going to do?
I think, at first I'm like, maybe they're bringing back all the fan favorites, like Conus. And then they're just some weird random characters in this. It's so odd. It's like they just picked it out of a hat.
Quick scene from the royalty, who are very concerned that they haven't heard anything about the rice cakes being transported. But then, a kite with a hook on it. Turns out Buggy isn't completely incompetent. And
he's just mostly incompetent.
Yeah, mostly. Steve, you want to talk about Hachi a little bit in this episode?
First of all, I don't know why Hachi is associated with Buggy.
Gidatsu is there too,
and Gidatsu as well. Just go with it. Hachi, what is up with him in this scene? He's so pleasant and formal. He's like, "Hi, I am Hachi. I am going to be taking your rice cakes now."
Well, no, the first word he says though is "absolutely."
I didn't catch that.
That was
wow. I did not
amazing.
notice that.
Like
absolutely.
Yeah. I have never gone back and watched these in Japanese because I really don't feel like it.
I'm never going to do that.
This episode might be significantly improved by watching it in Japanese.
Probably.
I don't know, because it's like such a Japanese setting. Man.
But Hachi's like really, really formal in this. Just very pleasant.
I'm never going to watch.
I'm going to be robbing you now.
I'm never going to watch these again, like at all, unless it's in like really poorly dubbed Bulgarian. So I don't think it's going to happen. Sorry, I picked a random country. I apologize to the Bulgarian listeners out there, which I assume there are 7.
So Luffy messes up the kite that Hachi is riding on, and that Gidatsu is controlling from the ground. So the kite falls like Looney Tunes, and Gidatsu forgets to let go of the kite string, and he goes flying too. Luffy and Hachi make a ridiculous face. Whackety schmackety do, basically. Yeah. So they finally get up the thing to the castle there, and Buggy is being carried. Yes, carried with his cannon. So
do we have to carry it? Yes,
just get a cart.
To carry it.
Just get a cart,
or just give up. It's a rice cake with a diamond inside.
A lot of money in it. Yeah. So Igaram, Chaka, and Pell come to meet the rice cakes, and they fend off Buggy, who falls off the side of the castle, basically. Oh boy, that guy.
I wonder if we'll ever see him again.
And Nami actually has the right thinking here. This is Palace's problem now. Don't get involved.
We're done here. We did our job.
Yeah. Just to remind Sanji of that. But Buggy still wants to be flashy, and there's an explosion, and Zoro is horrified that he is late for the tossing of the rice cakes, as we see him for I think the first time this episode.
Zoro is super energetic and kind of out of character in this whole thing.
Oh, yeah,
well, he's offended. He's offended by the.
I've never heard. Let me put it this way: I've never heard Chris Sabat yell this much as Zoro. I don't remember that.
Enthusiastically.
Yeah, it's not, and about really weird things.
He's really
rice cakes.
They've offended the dignity of the rice cake toss. He's so upset about it.
Oh my
god. Yeah, Usopp tries to lead Zoro to the castle. It's a one-way street. They get lost. Zoro gets lost anyway. and somehow ends up inside the castle. There are way too many rooms in there. And we see Amazon, Mrs. Igaram, Miss Monday, and Nagikuma Maria.
I actually really liked that scene, even though it was weird.
Hold on. Mrs. Igaram has a name. Oh, what's her freaking name?
Terracotta.
Thank you.
God, you're such an idiot, Steve.
I know.
Stupid.
Jeez. And then the Lord Cobra shows up, and we find out that Bucky's nose glows red when he's angry because the rice cake isn't actually where they said it would be, and Luffy won't stop breaking the castle. And oh god, do I have to finish this?
No, I think we're good. Good episode.
Yeah.
I don't think we've given up in a recap before, but I think
what happened to the rice cakes?
Well,
Zoro bit into it and he threw it away. Like,
no, don't say what happened.
Well, there's a really drawn out scene when they finally, I don't know, Buggy gets punched, and then like they have the big rice cake toss, and everyone like a big "We Are" karaoke instrumental montage. Everyone going for the rice
instrumental.
And then Cobra's like, "Oh hey, I almost forgot," and he throws the prize, which is like a pink rice cake, which just looks more like just.
It looked like mud or something?
No, it looked like gum.
Oh, gum. I'm colorblind.
Throws it, hits Zoro in the head. He's like, rice cake is hard, and he just throws it.
Just came out of Kobe's butt.
And Robin's just sitting in the tree like,
Kobe was
oh, that's funny. Now no one's rich. And that's pretty much how it ends.
This is the last time we will speak of this.
Yes, we're done. That's it. There's nothing more to talk about. Let's go to the next segment. Or actually, let's round off. That's even a better idea, right, Ed?
But how do you guys feel?
No.
I don't feel.
I don't feel.
I hate.
I hate. Let's round this thing off. This has been the One Piece Podcast, episode 360 for March 16th. Thank you all for coming on, Ed, Dude, and Steve.
Oh, well, you're welcome, Zach.
Well, Ed at least, thank you.
You're welcome.
No, it's too late, guys. I'm sorry.
God forbid I decide not to speak out first and let others speak first and second. Oh, I guess no one's there.
Anyway, I want to thank Mike McFarland and Joel McDonald for coming on this week. A lot of fun, and hopefully we'll have them on again soon. It's always an informative and fun discussion with them. Just a couple reminders before we go. Please check us out at the Podcast Awards by voting for us in the entertainment category. Go to podcastawards.com. Vote for us once a day through March 24th. Again, we'll be at Anime Boston from April 3rd through 5th. That'll be me and Steve. We'll have a panel. We don't know when, we don't know where, but it'll be at Anime Boston.
Don't know how, but soon.
We'll also have some prizes there that, I have a bunch of prizes here, so we'll at least have the prizes I have, hopefully more. I think that's basically it. I do want to thank everyone for listening. We had, in a row, 2 of our highest-rated podcast episodes ever, being episode 358, and then that was beaten by episode 359. So I want to thank all the new listeners, hopefully, out there, and all the old listeners who continue listening. Please let people know about this podcast and spread the word about One Piece as much as you can. Check it out every Saturday at 8:30 p.m. and 2:30 a.m. on Adult Swim and Toonami, respectively. Check it out on Crunchyroll and OnePieceOfficial.com every Saturday night. And check out the manga at shonenjump.viz.com every Monday at around 1 p.m. Eastern Time is when that comes out. Support the official release and help One Piece and get your friends to watch and get your friends to read. It's a good series. I think that's basically it. Before we go, Dude, where can people find you?
You can find me at Dude! All one word, on Twitter and Tumblr. And check out superartfight.com. If you're in the New Jersey area, the weekend of the 27th, you're in luck. Super Art Fight is part of Rutgers Geek Week that they're doing. On Friday night, March 27th, we will be playing at Rutgers University, so come and say hello if you are listening right now. And yeah.
Steve, where can people find you?
You could find me at my website, steveyurko.com. You could find me on Twitter, Steve Yurko, or on Tumblr, steveyurko.tumblr.com. I just did a new One Piece thing, jig.
Yeah, it's very
check
nice. Yeah, I suggest people check that out.
Grazie.
Ed, how could the good people out there contact us?
Well, Zach, they can contact us at onepiecepodcast.com, twitter.com, youtube.com, and facebook.com/onepiecepodcast. onepiecepodcast.tumblr.com for news updates and funny pictures. onepiecepodcast@gmail.com is our email address. One Piece Podcast is our Skype name. You can subscribe on SoundCloud. You can subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes. Oh, you can also subscribe in the Stitcher Smart Radio app, or you can call us on our phone number. Zach?
That phone number is 347-497-MAJI.
Maji.
That phone number again is 347-497-6254. Call anytime. With your questions, comments, theories, and suggestions, and other things, I guess. I am on point this week. I do want to say one more thing before we leave, and that is that we are looking for a new correspondent in Japan, not for the podcast, but for the news. Greg is still with us, don't worry. But William, as I think we mentioned a few weeks back, is moving back to Belgium, so we need someone who has some sort of, ability to speak and read Japanese, preferably more than less, and has access to Shonen Jump and its spin-off magazines, and will be able to report on that kind of news for us, that news that comes out of Japan. So we could bring that all to everyone abroad who doesn't really have access to that kind of stuff. So please email us at onepiecepodcast@gmail.com with the subject header Japan news, and we'll reply to you if we would like to have you aboard. So please do that. We are looking for people, and or if you know anyone, please let us know as well. With that out of the way, we will see you next week with an all-new manga recap, an all-new anime recap, an all-new Toonami recap. My name is Zach.
My name is Ed.
And my name is Steve.
We'll see you next week, everyone. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
しぶき上げて